I just think Quan isn't a good character. Why? Why? And I could give two shits about Madrigal. Come on, guys. What are we doing? Master Chief's ass. I didn't expect that. What the fuck is this? I'm really confused on what they're gonna do. Okay, I guess we're doing it, ladies and gentlemen. Halo PODST. I'm one of their hosts, Jake Williams. I'm joined by the one and only John Sparks. Yeah, John 117. In fact, aren't you? Is that who you are? So this is our Halo recap show for the Paramount Plus show. I talked about it a little bit on the main show, and before we even get into breaking down Season 1, let's just talk about how this show came to be. Because neither one of us wants to claim ownership over this show.
To be fair, I don't know that Paramount wants to claim ownership over theirs either.
Okay, so we'll get into this because we have some varying opinions on this. I actually recorded Season 1 when it was coming out, just on our YouTube page, just by myself, and I tried so hard to like this show. I really did.
You know what? And I'll give you full credit on this one, mostly because from the first episode, you can make a strong argument that there's potential.
Mm-hmm.
It's just with every passing week, your hope just plummets. Like so many UNSC ships.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I think a lot of this is I already have my... I guess the fanboy stuff worked for me, like the fan service stuff. And that first episode, when his shield is getting shot and depleting and you hear the sounds, I was like, okay, I'm invested. This is interesting. And I honestly didn't think the Covenant looked that bad in the first episode.
Honestly, I'd make a case that like not much looked that bad in the first episode, except for maybe that one battle rifle.
Yeah, there's some choices where it's like, why did you use CG here when you could have? I don't know. Maybe it's a budget thing. I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna go through 8 episodes. We're not covering the Quan episode because I refuse.
Just like The Matrix 3, I don't believe it exists.
What's wrong with The Matrix 3?
I don't have enough time for that one.
If you're going to have beef, have it with Resurrections. The 4th one.
I don't know. I mean, it had the car chase.
That was in this. You know what? We're not getting into this.
The highway scene is classic.
Yeah, and the second one. I'm talking about the... Forget it. We're getting off topic. Let's break down all 8 episodes because you and I don't like Quan and we don't care.
Oh, I have so many thoughts on Quan and all of them are negative.
I also looked back and I got clips of each episode that I reviewed. They're like a minute and a half, and it was just kind of like to see if I lined up with what I believe. Almost every time Quan is involved in an episode, I just am so annoyed. And I do my best to be like, I don't give a shit. I'm just moving on.
Not to venture too far into spoiler territory, there is a note that I have here somewhere about the middle of episode 1, and it just says, Quan Ha, still the worst.
And I don't even think it's the actress. I don't think it's anything like that. I just think that character is so pointless.
It's not even a matter of being pointless. It's a matter of being so insufferable.
Yeah.
I God, everything, just every little every word, every action. Like there's so many points in the story where she could just shut her goddamn mouth and everything would be okay. And yet, we're treated to the endless shitstorm coming from her mouth.
And what kills me is you should like her as a character because, excuse me, you see her family get killed. You see all you know what? Let's just get into the episodes.
Okay, so we got episode 1 here, which is called Contact.
Yes.
And honestly, out of things that are Contact, I'd rather have a Contact High.
Yeah. We don't have to cover all the plot points of each episode because this is going to be our longest episode. Because normally we're just going to do one episode recaps instead of a whole season. But yes, let's get into Contact because it's probably the best episode.
I mean, it starts off in a shaky place, but it gets better and then gets worse. But the better holds it aloft.
So I think it does a good job of establishing the Spartans, establishing that they're not like normal people, you know. They start to build a mythology around it.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like I said, I watched the series. I took notes on most of the episodes. And there's this fun little bit in the beginning of the first episode because they open up with this group of, revolutionaries on Madrigal who are mining for heavy hydrogen or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, whatever space thing.
Space oil.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we spend so much time with them, it feels like they're trying to establish them. And inevitably, within the next 20 minutes, every one of them are dead.
Yeah, that is a good point. I forgot when I first saw it, I didn't know they just killed everybody at Quan. I forgot she was a sole survivor in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's a solid point that I didn't even think about. The second thing was like they do so much to make you care just to kill them off to get like sympathy right out of the gate. But
yeah,
again,
all these people
build her up.
Yeah, all these people here in the beginning, all they were exposition vehicles. They were just like, hey, these big motherfuckers in armor showing up. They're called Spartans, viewer. So be ready. and bear in mind, one Spartan is worth 100 Marines.
And you can't kill them, which explains their regen stuff that you'd have in the games and the shields. I want to ask you this. What did you think of their interpretation of the shield getting hit? Because I thought most of the time it looked good, and I thought it was kind of pretty believable.
Yeah, no, I think as far as advanced energy-based shields go, it was pretty reasonable. Here's where I have major qualms, actually. It's not in the shields. It's in the weaponry, and this is really laughable to me. So we get all these revolutionaries, and they're fighting the Covenant. Well, okay, actually, I want to back this up because there's this fun little point that I kind of determined on my own. So before we even get into the Covenant arriving, we get our exposition, and then everyone's like, well, where's Quan? Jin Ha, he's our general. Where's his daughter? Well, she's off way outside of the base with her stupid friends, and they're getting high.
Getting them space shrooms, dog.
Yeah, and all I could take this for was subtext for drugs are bad, okay?
Drugs are bad because when you do them, an alien race will show up and murder your family.
But not even beyond that, because within a couple minutes of meeting Kwa and her friends, what does she do? She abandons them to go check something out and ends up leading the Covenant back to them, and they all get murdered.
Yeah.
And then to put the cherry on it, as she's running from the Covenant, she runs off a cliff.
Yeah, what was that?
I couldn't explain it if I tried.
Every decision she makes is And I know they're trying to make it like this rebellious teenager, but it doesn't feel like it works in the show. Am I crazy?
Well, I kind of think about this like this parallel to when Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the animated series. So they brought in a new character, Ahsoka Tano, the beloved character now. For those first couple of years, fans hated her because she was the worst. But as the series progressed, she became more likable. She grew. She evolved. The difference is she was a young kid making mistakes, and she was paying for those mistakes. Mm-hmm. There is not an ounce of accountability when it comes to Kwan Ha.
So, episode 1, Contact, we talked about it. So the Covenant show up to where Kwan is and her family are stationed. They're getting slaughtered. Shout out to this show for just, now granted it's off screen and it's implied, but they just murder a bunch of kids in this first episode. I was like, shit, we're going there. Okay.
And this is Kwan Ha getting away with her decisions.
And she escapes and all those kids get slaughtered.
Right? Right off the bat, she is now twice dodged paying for her stupidity.
Yeah. So the Spartans do show up. And again, it's crazy how strong. And I texted you when I was watching it, and I said, it is insane how promising this show starts. Because it's fucking cool when he lands, and it's cool when those other Spartans show up. And it's like, I said this when we reviewed The Mandalorian Season 3. Man, I like that season because it showed Mandalorians doing Mandalorian shit. Same thing here. It showed the Spartans fucking up the Covenant, and that's what I'm here to see.
Well, okay, so I think this is actually a really good parallel to the final episode, which we'll talk about later. But this first episode, what I think I can appreciate about it, there were vast majorities of it that were shot practically. Like, I'm reasonably sure that entire mining scene was a real place.
And I think the armor translates pretty well in live action. I think they got to do, I don't know, sometimes just having real light hit objects does so much. It's crazy to think, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, so anyways, back to my original point here. So this weird little quibble I have. So you get all these revolutionaries fighting against the Covenant. And what's wild to me is that they have the giant mounted gun on the truck.
Yeah, they have a turret.
They have 8 Kalashnikovs, and they're shooting at the Covenant, and they're doing fuck all.
You mean to tell me?
I don't think they dropped a single Covenant.
They didn't. And that's what it's funny to me. It's like, so you're saying their armor and their hide is so strong, you can't do shit with a Kalashnikov.
With a Kalashnikov?
Or did I say Kalashnikov?
I don't know.
AK-47.
Like yeah. Well, and that's the funny part to me. But then later on, Chief, he manages to get the chain gun from the truck, and he is just messing them up.
It is just funny. I thought about that too, because like logically, that dude was shooting them. Quan's dad was shooting him. Why didn't it kill him until he used it?
Right? Or is he putting a special spin on the bullets?
He's just pulling the trigger harder, dude. That's what it is. I
guess. He had higher. He put higher points into his stats.
Well, he's got the strength of 100 men. He's a Spartan.
Apparently. So as we were talking though, the revolutionaries, they just get massacred. It's not even a contest.
And it's, again, I said it. Actually, you know what? This would be a great segue. I said it in my original review. It set a tone for violence, and I was excited, and I don't think it really hits that level again. Until
never. Maybe
the last episode.
I don't even know if it does then.
Okay. So here, real quick, we're going to go back in time, Huey Lewis, and we're going to listen to my original review of episode 1 and see where I am now versus 2022.
Covenant characters, and they looked great. I'm not taking that away from the show.
Started in the middle.
First episode, I think, was a great introduction to the series in terms of its tone, with its violence. I think that the Covenant surprisingly look really good, especially for a TV show. I was amazed at how well the character models look, and I'm assuming that that's where the majority of that $10 million per episode budget went.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. This show cost $100 million.
Where do they put it?
You would think all the Covenant stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I know that in my notes here, I wrote a few different things. One, the plasma charge effect looks really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Because, those plasma pistols, let those bad boys charge and just pop somebody with them.
Again.
Great stuff.
Again, when they have the needler, and it's like, it's amazing what you can do when you have real props, and the universe you're adapting already looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blows my mind.
But, I mean, the energy swords, they look great.
The fucking energy swords are awesome in the show. Like, they nailed the tech and the aesthetic, but they just fumbled it so many different ways.
Bad writing. Just bad writing.
It's just terrible. And it's written by people who don't understand the lore. They don't understand what Bungie and 343 have been doing. Like, I covered it on the show. The producers said they didn't play the games. And they were told they didn't have to. They're like, it's its own canon, it's its own timeline. And it shows that these guys didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to do the prep work. I mean, you look at like any Marvel movie, and the vast majority of people who are playing noteworthy characters, they're going to go read because you want to get a feel for the character and for the world. This is just, base level preparation.
Yeah.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
And I understand what they were saying was Microsoft wanted them to do their own thing. And it was going to be the silver timeline. And it's going to be separate from the games. And you can watch the show and not use, you don't need to play the games. I don't mind adaptation. Because I even said it in my old reviews. If I wanted the story of the game, I would just play the game.
Well, see, and this is... So, going into this, I have only played CE 2 and 3. So, I know very, very little about the lore of Halo, and that's perfect. This is my good entry point into appreciating this. So, caring about the silver timeline, I don't really care. These are not my problems. My problems is shoddy writing, and not from a lore aspect.
Yeah. I didn't even play the first Halo. I only played Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 4's campaigns. And I'm going to be honest, I never really paid attention that much to the story of Halo. I played it for the multiplayer. So, I mean, I have a little bit of knowledge, but even with little knowledge, I was like, this doesn't feel right. And this is only playing a couple of games. You know what I mean?
Like, visually speaking, that first episode really nails the combat aesthetic of Halo. And I deeply appreciate it for that.
When
it's when it's left to its own devices, it just fucks up everything else.
Dude, when it is in motion, when there is action, it works. But when there's talking, doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the action scenes are, for the most part, pretty well done. And I liked a lot of the action sequences when we got them. Because out of this 9-episode series, how many, actual fights did we get? The first episode, the 5th episode, a little bit in the 6th. So there was a fight scene at the end of the 8th episode, and then the finale.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking maybe 3 episodes of quality Halo, as it were.
Yeah.
And everything else was just this really poorly written drama.
So, yeah, the main thing from episode 1 is we establish Chief and Silver Team. Again, I don't remember the UNSC being this mean in the games, but now that I think back, it makes more sense. Like, they were kind of like this, because the whole story of them kidnapping the kids and turning them into Spartans, that is from the lore.
Sure. And beyond that, it's a larger meta-narrative on the military-industrial complex. And I get that. That's cool. It's easy, low-hanging fruit.
And, we were just talking about the dialogue is what sucks. Not all of it is bad. It's just, and again, in those the older reviews, I like the political aspect of it, but there's just so much other stuff I don't care about.
It's just this really badly written interpersonal drama. And when I say drama, I don't mean like in a suspense sort of way. I mean like high school drama.
Mm-hmm. So the crux of this episode is we find the MacGuffin of the season. That is the artifact that Chief touches, and he sees all these visions and freaks out. And so, like, well,
he's having memories.
Yeah, he has Quan with him on the ship. The UNSC wants him to kill her, and then they threaten to kill him.
Well, actually, I want to back that up just two minor steps. So we get the artifact, and then Riz and Vanek, Riz, Vanek, and Kai all take off to go back to Reach. And before we even get to that point, as they're exiting the cave, there was a Covenant survivor who was in stealth, and he had watched Chief touch the artifact, and
he called him a demon.
Yep, he called him a demon, and he ran for it. And as he's leaving the cave, who should he bump into? But Quan Ha.
Ruining everything.
Who, under any other circumstance, probably would have been run through by an Idri sword. But today, no sir. She just gets knocked unconscious.
Hey, it happens.
That's three times just getting off easy.
Yeah.
This kid is like the bane of my existence.
So we're gonna so Chief does take his helmet off. And pretty much
he does it in that really funny dramatic way, because Quan's staring him down with his own rifle, and he's like, well, if you're gonna shoot me, shoot here, because this is Mjolnir Mark IV armor.
Yeah.
And instead it's the dramatic, like, well, if you're gonna do it, then here's where you do it.
See, I'm a human.
Ugh.
So let's just get it out of the way now. I don't mind that he takes his helmet off.
I don't see how you do a series without it.
I agree with what Pablo has consistently said, where it was, this is long form TV storytelling. It worked with him never taking his helmet off because it was you in the video game. And this is a different John. And this is a John that is his own character. And I'm not saying that Chief wasn't in the other games, because he had personality in those games. But it's not like The Mandalorian, where there's a whole code, because other Spartans have taken their helmet off in the games.
Well, if we're entirely honest with ourselves, when did Chief have chance to take his helmet off in the games? He was just basically going from combat to combat.
True, he didn't have time to fuck people like this Chief. That's a real question. Does that John bang in the video games? Do you think he bangs?
Oh, I don't want to think about it. Because then it's this meta thing: is do I bang because I'm Chief, but I don't want to?
See, now you're overthinking it.
Apparently,
this isn't God of War,
which is still more thinking than they did with the writing here.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, so we've got that going on, and they're on the ship together, and the UNSC makes their decision. that Kwan's not going to play ball and, you know, basically rubber stamp their actions to make the revolutionaries fall in line. So they're like, well, kill her.
UNSC, pretty much.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, on one hand, I don't blame her. On the other one, how dumb are you?
Yeah, they probably would have let you live.
Like, she's this weirdly idealistic revolutionary who probably hasn't really had a struggle in a day in her life. Her father just got murdered, and this was his whole movement. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
It's beyond me. But then after this weird little speech where he talks about, you know, being forced to kill her mom, there's this line. God, there was this interaction between Admiral Keyes and his daughter Miranda that I thought was really, really funny. Because basically, after she was told that Kwan was going to get killed, she asked, you know, what's the point in saving humanity if we're going to give up one of our own? And Keyes was like, well, sometimes you have to make the hard choices to get good results. And all I could think was, well, where was that logic when we wrote this shit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what's so funny about the writing is, like, the people that are evil are clearly evil. Like, Halsey kind of dabbles in that gray, but by the end of the show, you're like, no, she's pretty bad throughout. And Keyes, like, has some redemption, but was their justification being like, let's just kill her and be done with it? The rest of her family's dead. They're not going to care.
Halsey is like a dried in the wool sociopath
Who's took these yeah, we'll get to that. So episode 2 is mostly taking place with Soren. They're like pirates on an asteroid, which is kind of cool. There was a cool scene where Chief just pushes aside a forklift, which was cool.
So you want to know my entire notes on this entire episode?
Sure.
Exposition: Kwan Ha wants revenge, not justice. Crazy guy is crazy.
So that crazy guy, originally, I think, probably have to look this up to double check, but he's in the games, but he's like a defected, like, jackal. So maybe that's why he's so weird, I guess.
I don't know. It feels like they started off with somebody who might be a little out of sorts after being abducted and experimented on by the Covenant. But then I don't know if the actor sold the bit, because he was like, he had turned it all the way up to like 11.
Oh yeah. So yeah, pretty much this whole episode, yeah, they go to Soren to see if they can find any information about the artifact. Was it Reek? What was his name?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Who cares?
We don't ever see him again.
You never see him after that scene.
He's an exposition vehicle.
Doesn't he call Chief a demon too, or the devil?
I think they said that Chief told him that they call him the demon.
Well,
and he's like, yeah, he basically confirmed it. Beyond that,
they call him that in the games.
Yeah, we get a little bit of backstory for Chief and Soren. Basically, Soren decided to defect from the Spartan training.
Buy into the indoctrination.
Yeah, well, I mean, after getting his arm fucked up, who can blame him? And then he tries to take Chief with him, and Chief kind of doubles down and does that whole, you better get out of here before I change my mind.
I'll give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, and of course they reference that later on. Yeah. It's okay. And like, all in all, it's not a terrible episode. It's definitely a downshift from the one before it. Kwan Ha continues to be Kwan Ha, and she's just the worst.
I that's the thing. I said this in my old reviews. The worst part about Soren's arc is he's stuck with Quan.
Oh my god. Oh my god. The fact that he's
I like that actor. I joked, and I still, it's. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up. It's something bovine or woodvine.
I don't know. Like up until these last couple of years, I would have said he looked like a buff Dave Chappelle. But
I've
now
always
Chappelle
said
is buff.
he's not Dave Chappelle. That's how I remember.
No,
because he looks
not.
shockingly close to him. Bokeem Woodbine.
Okay. But beyond that, we meet his family, his wife. He and his wife basically are the mayors of the rubble, and she spends a lot of her time with their kid, which, you know, Chief didn't know they could have. I guess they were told they were made sterile.
Yeah.
And then his wife spends a lot of time smoking something.
Yeah, some sort of space drug, I'm sure.
Yay, space drugs. They're cool.
Yeah. And yeah, we don't get much out of this episode except that the UNSC agreed to let Halsey create Cortana, and that's how she was going to control Chief.
The part that always makes me laugh is that, you know, Cortana's made to have her same brain waves and everything, and that she looks like Halsey. And every time I look at the model for Cortana, I'm like, but you don't look anything alike.
Yeah, because they went through the whole thing to explain that she became known, arose to prominence because she could flash clone, essentially clone people and develop them to adulthood rather quickly. So they established that, so she clones herself to then kill that clone and turn it into the Cortana AI. Why not just make the fucking AI? Why do we go through all of that? It was just filter. Or filler, excuse me.
I guess the moral, it's some sort of moral high ground to make Halsey look worse.
And then you had that fucking creepy assistant that was like in love with, tried Aiden to kiss the clone. What are we doing?
God, he's such a weirdo.
And then he like weirdly wants to bang Cortana, it seems like. I just don't. Why is that in a Halo show? Why?
Why was he a character at all?
That's what I mean. Just make Cortana. Why do we got to do the... I guess the whole thing there was to establish, okay, the kids of the Spartans are clones. So the Spartans are the original, but the kids that are with their parents are the clones.
Yeah, the forever, however long they lived. But anyway, so then the major next point in this episode is basically Soren takes Chief to go talk to a crazy guy who got abducted by the Covenant. So he knows a thing or two about them. And then Chief ends up touching the artifact again, sending off a major blast wave and yada yada. And then he's like, all right, well, I've had enough of this. So, Quan, you're staying with Soren. I'm going back to the UNSC. See ya.
Pretty much.
And that was episode 2.
And so the thing that I took away from episode 2 was, again, rarely do I think shows should be less episodes. But man, this season could have been like 6 episodes.
It's wild to me that there are shows that are 6 episodes that could have used 1 or 2 more, and then there's the ones that have too many. Like, we haven't found the balance
because
yet.
You have one whole episode dedicated to a side character that was created for this show that you and I have talked about. Pretty much nobody, like unanimously, nobody likes this character.
Universally detested.
And
and that's, and again, it's crazy to me because then on the flip side of it, you look at like the Disney Plus shows like Echo or Hawkeye. They could have used like one more episode to really fill it out.
I guess the point of this episode was to establish Soren in that arc with Quan, I guess, or to show someone from John's past who defected from the UNSC and didn't agree with them. I don't know, but
I mean, if the silver lining here is we get Soren, and then we get Soren again in season 2, which looks like it might be a thing. So. You know what? I'll take it for what it is. And if we don't see Quan Ha again,
because I like
life is good.
Bokeem Woodbine, he's great. I liked his character, and I'd like to see more of it.
Yep. So we move on to season 3.
Can I just say one thing?
Episode 3. And
before we jump on to episode 3, I will say this. I completely forgot about that cloning sequence and the whole Halsey clone. I totally forgot about it.
I think that was like what, end of episode 1?
Well, just the whole, because the second episode they show her being created and all the other stuff, you know.
No, actually, like the clone had been there the whole. She was off in a closet on the side of Halsey's office because Parangosky, the admiral that she had kept butting heads with, was in her office, and she heard like the condenser click on, and she went and poked her eyes in there, and the clone's just been sitting in a bubble for God only knows how long.
I did not remember that.
Yeah, like she's been because so we didn't get to talk about Cortana becoming a program until like end of 2, beginning of 3, when Halsey, the sly dog she is, brings it up at a giant board meeting, and everyone's like, "Oh, you still get your, we're still doing the clone thing and your Cortana," and she basically like strong arms Parangosky into green lighting her using the clone for Cortana.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, man, there's so much of this show that even upon second viewing that I'm like, I really blocked out a lot of this.
It's like a bad night where you blacked out.
So yeah, episode 3, Emergence. This is where we get the intro. Yeah, because they end episode 2 creating Cortana, and then episode 3 is her meeting John and being implemented.
not even just meeting John. So he goes into get Cortana basically drilled into the back of his head, as you do.
Again, if I remember correctly, in the games, she's like a flash drive that goes in the back of his helmet.
Yeah, she's an attachment of the helmet because he ends up transporting her to basically because. If I understood the lore video that I watched, her AI can only live for like 7 years because of all the data that it can take on.
Like the main storyline of Halo 4 is it's the end of her life and he's trying to save her. I like the change. It works for this show because, again, like you and I have discussed, John is going to be without his helmet sometimes, and you still want to have that dialogue.
I guess I have questions about it because there are things they didn't explain. So there's this really funny scene that I think is cringe as all hell, where Chief has Cortana in his head, and he's leaving to go talk to Silver Team, and she decides to take it upon herself to introduce herself to the team. And it's so awkward, bless their hearts.
I kind of like that scene.
But my issue with it is this large question of, okay, so she's basically just a little chip planted into the base of his skull, right? Where the hell is she projecting this image from?
Good question. But look, Sparks, at some point you gotta suspend your disbelief, okay?
Okay, I am watching the Halo show that includes Quan Ha. My disbelief has been suspended long ago.
That's a good question. I didn't even think about it.
But watching when she does that and she tries to introduce herself to Silver Team, and you're watching Chief just kind of like cringe and kind of freak out. It's adorable.
See, that's what I mean. That's what I thought it was funny because he was embarrassed, and they added a little humor to him. See, and that's the thing. I think they do try to develop John in the show, and I think his escalation of anger towards Halsey and the UNSC and all this, I think, is pretty justified.
Oh, it's absolutely justified.
And I think, especially in the middle parts with this episode and then the next episode, I think it does a really good job of establishing, like, oh, Halsey really is a sociopath, like you were saying. Like, the more as this show goes on, she's like, oh, she's a piece of shit.
So the long and short for Chief in this episode is basically him and Cortana becoming a thing in a work relationship, mind you. And then he's trying to remember the planet that is in his memories, and Cortana kind of helps him identify it because it might have the other half of the artifact that he's now remembering. He's getting flashbacks of that, and that's basically his role in this episode. During the course of this episode, we get the ever horrible Quan Ha B plot, which starts with her on rubble while Soren is inspecting some chickens because, they're still taking in livestock from somewhere, and right off the top, she's just getting lippy.
All he wants her to do is just hang out in his house.
Basically.
That's it.
Yeah. Not
he
asking
even said
much.
that. He's like, I'm just doing this as a favor to John. Just stay at my place.
Yep, and she can't
and
help
leave me alone.
Just can't help but run her mouth. And all I could think was hit her. Just hit her.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Sometimes when kids get out of line, just one good pop across the mouth.
Wow. This week's boomer take.
You tell me what you do about her. Send her to a Covenant work prison?
I mean, maybe. I don't know what I would do with Quan. I don't think they know what they were doing with her either. So that, episode 3 Emergence is pretty much just about digging more into John's past, establishing Cortana.
A little more than that even. So we get the planet identified. It's Eridanus 2 as John's home planet. Yeah. And then Quan is so hell-bent on going back to Madrigal to try to round up the Revolutionary Army to go fight Venture that she promises Soren a princely sum because her family is deuterium rich.
Space oil.
Sure.
Or some shit.
And then we get the C plot, which is McKee just murdering fools.
Yeah, that. Well, there's that. Was it this episode or the last episode?
It was this episode
where Vishnu's just fucking murks dudes in the head.
That would have been episode. This one or the last one, because she was based. This actually really makes me curious. Is that Quan Ha was watching Venture executing people on a screen like it was just closed circuit TV.
That's magical for you, baby.
Apparently. Yeah, he's just off in Revolutionary Fools. And, okay, putting aside the fact that I wouldn't do this, I completely understand his rationale. You want to be a tyrant, you got to go ahead and take care of the people who are revolting.
Yeah, you got to do a couple public executions. Nobody's going to believe you.
Yeah. Hey, no, game respect game.
This show doesn't need 3 plots. No. It needs 2.
Oh, my God.
The Covenant side and the UNSC side. Because you have McKee kill that reconnaissance. Yeah, that other ship, which I thought was good.
The Gladius.
The Gladius, when she just fucks him up, that was good.
Yeah, no, it was a great way to set the stakes of her, and her abilities. And of course, we get the one of the cutest items in this entire series, which is her little
Her
fingernail plasma, her plasma fingernail,
whatever that is.
I mean, from like a espionage side of things, I'm down. This completely tracks. It must hurt like a bitch to get it in there.
They also I think it might have been this episode. There's a cold open of her as a kid, so it kind of establishes why she hates humans.
Yeah, because she grew up on a trash planet, and was.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. You want to explain what that planet was? Because it was a planet covered in trash.
So you're saying Master Chief had to face off against white trash? Wow.
Those are your words, not mine. I just said she came from a trash planet.
Trash planet?
Yeah.
Come on. I'm triggered.
Apparently, way to go, Shapiro.
God.
But yeah, so, and then she was a kid when the Covenant discovered her because, spoiler, she and Chief are special people whose DNA are 2 in a million.
2 in a billion.
Sorry, billion. Damn it.
Sir.
I took the over, then I took the under.
I only know this because I binged like the last couple episodes in a row recently. So
yeah, they're special people. They're forever linked in their ability to interact with these Covenant artifacts. So they're not even confirmed to be Covenant. They're precursor, I would assume.
Yeah, because to me the whole artifact looks like it was the Forerunners, which is
Forerunner, precursor. Yeah, somebody
the precursor stuff after Halo 3.
Yeah, it's definitely not Covenant specific.
Yeah,
but they're special people. They can interact with them. And the Covenant found her on her trash planet after the guards in that trash yard murdered her first love, and were already torturing her.
That's another thing. This show doesn't have a lot of subtlety when it's like we're just gonna kill civilians, kill some kids.
It definitely doesn't shy away from hurting kids.
But it makes sense because the Covenant wouldn't give a shit if they're kids. They want to just kill the humans.
Yeah, and the humans are just terrible people.
Yeah.
I mean, they were stun gunning a child.
So this episode ends with them going to John's home planet.
Aridinus 2.
Aridinus 2.
Well, and bear in mind, this is after he removes his hormone pellet.
Right. I couldn't remember if it was this episode or the next. So Cortana was like, right, because that's how they find out more of the artifact, because he takes his pellet out, and because he's meant to feel these memories.
Now the world has color.
It's not a bad sequence, right? Because he's experiencing things. Are they implying he's always had the pellet? Like he didn't?
I believe it was like some sort of like battle enhancement from when they were like teenagers.
That just blocks their humanity, pretty much, or
it blocks emotion.
Emotion, yeah.
Yeah, because there was this part where he was talking about another Spartan who had died, and he could remember it, but he couldn't feel it. And then we end the episode with poor old Kai seeing him take his pellet out.
Yeah. So then she gets some ideas.
Well, she waits until the next episode for that one.
Right. Cortana talks about this later in the show, and she says remove the pellet to get the feelings of it, and that's how he's going to memorize. But it's always funny to me that Cortana, who has moments where she's like very calculated and like an AI, but then she's also like, I think that Halsey was wrong. Humanity is important. And it's, I don't know. Like
the fact that Cortana,
her characterization goes all over the place.
Well, and I think it's part and parcel to her not being just a written piece of AI, but a person's consciousness downloaded into a program.
I just think, as I was saying that, I think the whole thing with this episode and all the stuff in the next few episodes later on in the season, I think it works well enough. I think that Cortana was always kind of playing this end game. Like I feel like Cortana was always trying to get Chief away from Halsey. And I think that doesn't really show up until the later episodes.
Well, and she does it in the most awkward way because she's always putting herself between Chief and his objectives. Because she's basically telling me, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. And Halsey's like, no, let him do it.
Yeah.
Like he's going to cut his pellet out. Well, he should be stopping this. This is a violation of, the Spartan program. Well, no, let him do it. Help him do it. Because it might get us to this artifact. And this artifact is important for helping humanity take their next step. You think.
Which, yeah. But I think, to me, after that moment is when Cortana and Chief, like, they're still combative throughout the season. But I think that moment, Cortana is, okay, so he trusted me enough to do this.
Sure.
And she kind of, like, feels a bond a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, she could have been a snitch in a heartbeat, and she kind of was, but Halsey kind of guided her in the line to establish the trust that was inevitably broken in episode 4.
Now that I say it, Cortana was one of the few, and now that I think about it, one of the few well-written characters in this show.
There's a fair bit of nuance to her, for sure.
John, I think, maybe because I like Pablo.
Good old porn stash.
I think he does a good enough job with what he's given.
Yeah, I think the writing is just low enough that he needs to try to elevate it. I think the difficulty is he's trying to play a character with a lot of things under the surface while also being very hard on the exterior.
Yeah.
And you kind of see the cracks in the facade more when he's hanging around McKee, who's somebody who can kind of relate to the experiences that he's having now. And then even more so when all of the Halsey stuff finally comes to a head.
So yeah, we go back to his planet. He is finding more memories. And honestly, I thought how they did the whole memory sequence was pretty cool and interesting.
It was very
using Cortana and the helmet.
Yeah, it was very innovative to have her kind of fill in how the house would have looked. My favorite part about this episode is this thought that I keep having every time. I remember thinking it the first time I watched it, and I remember thinking it the second time, is his flashbacks weren't really vivid about what it was he buried out in the yard. The only things we know is that his dad got upset and they were burying stuff.
Wait, did you think he killed his dog?
That was exactly where my mind went. I was like, oh, that's going to be really awkward if they find a dead dog in that hole.
I've thought that the first time I watched it too.
I was like, you guys didn't do a really good job telling us what it was you buried.
Hey,
maybe for better.
They already
or for
killed
worse.
kids, man. Fuck it, they're going going there.
Although
Halo.
you know that dog is dead as hell, though.
Well, now.
I mean, the whole planet died.
So what else happened in that episode?
What else happened in that episode? Oh my boy,
I took her pellet out.
We went to Madrigal.
Oh yeah.
And guess what? Quan got somebody killed. Because in her persistence to go find her aunt, who is bankrupt because her dad used all the family's money to fund the revolution, Venture, in his space Escalade, which never ceases to crack me up.
And you see his space ass.
Oh my god, that scene was so awkward.
Why the fuck was he? Why were we having this whole thing with him in a bathtub?
It's not even a bathtub. It's a pool, but it's only waist deep. The water is like teal. He's
hanging brain.
Well, he's just walking around on natural. But it's not even like an outdoor pool. It's a subterranean pool. And he's smoking his cigar and decides to put it out in there. And I'm like, what is happening here?
Do other people use that pool?
No, I gotta assume it's an executive pool.
Is he just peeing and pooping in that pool? What is he doing?
I don't know. He just walks. Apparently, he doesn't bathe or anything. He just walks around for a while. You know, because you love the feel of blue water passing between your testicles.
I can't help it. I love it when people look at my balls. I just love it.
Well, and then he gets out of the water and his assassin wraps him in a towel. Like
what the fuck?
Some really weird shit
and
going
I hate.
on.
What is this doing in a fucking Halo show?
Are you telling me you couldn't put him behind a desk to say, "Hey, go kill this kid"?
This show is weirdly horny because you see Master Chief's bare ass in the last episode. You see Ventress's bare ass. There's a unnecessary sex scene later.
But oddly, they did a good job hiding Kai's ass.
Yeah. Well, you know. Well, I think it's just one of those things with nudity. You know, like I think
guy butt's cool.
Guy butt's fine, right? And you could show boobs, but you cannot show a penis. You better not.
Well, not on Paramount. You can't even show the boobs. But so anyway, so Kwon goes back to Madrigal, and immediately she's just kicking the hornet's nest, trying to find all these revolutionaries. And this old acquaintance of hers tells her to go to a memorial that's happening that night for her father. And this is really convenient because her dad had to have been dead for at least a week by that point. At least.
Yeah.
That's a really conveniently timed memorial. But she goes...
Oh, you're back. We're going to go do this.
Yeah. But she goes there. She riles a bunch of people up, and Ventress people come in and just start cracking skulls. So she's like, okay, well, I got to go find my aunt so we can pay Soren and figure out what happened. And wouldn't you know it, she goes and finds her aunt. And the assassin comes in and kills her aunt. And then gets shot by Soren.
And then she can't pay Soren. Soren's like...
I don't think she ever could pay him. Obviously, it was a lie.
He was kind of bored.
Soren's ship got salvaged because you left it alone. You dipshit.
You know what that means. We're staying on Madrigal.
Oh boy, but now we got a dirt bike.
Yeah.
The vehicles in this show just amuse the shit out of me. They're like
Dude.
dirt bike, but with like painted silver and some weird spots on it. Ventress got a Cadillac, but it's just basically like wrapped in a couple places.
Yeah. Madrigal is like vaguely kind of like Tatooine. Like, oh, it's a desert planet.
Oh, I just figured it's like Space Arizona.
With all these scrappers and scavengers. I'm just saying. It's got Tatooine vibes.
It's Space Arizona. Space New Mexico.
Yeah, that feels right.
So that happens. Kai takes her pellet out. And then once she's got her emotions, she's cleaning her gun. And then for some reason that's inexplicable to me, she sees her pink-colored gun grease. I don't even know, some sort of lubricant, used for maintaining your gun. She's like,
yeah,
I'm going to put this in my hair. And, okay, she dyed her hair because that's wild and crazy.
I will say I actually didn't mind Kai's arc.
No, I think Kai was fine, although her moments of morality and lucidity always came at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
The horrors of war, as your comrades are being mowed down
she's
and
getting
you're surrounded.
Shot to shit.
That's a great time for this to happen.
And that's another thing we don't want to talk about was I think it's funny because the show has the beeping of the shield being down. At one point, Cortana's like, "Oh, Vanek's shield is like 2 more shots on Vanek's shield," or you know what I mean? But that scene where Kai's getting shot, she's getting shot a lot.
Well, she was getting shot by grunts, so
fine. But I'm
those
just
are
saying,
those are
they
weaker
were
bullets.
unloaded on her, and I'm like, how is the shield not depleted yet?
Jake, this is like every grinder game where you can level up your weapons to do more damage. The grunts have lower level weapons.
Yeah. I guess in the games, usually grunts don't really bother you. They're more like annoying.
I think they're the most amusing part of the Halo universe.
Dude, there's a kill on one of them in the later episodes. I'm like, dang, that was brutal.
So that
poor little grunt.
So that happens in the midst of Quan getting her aunt killed. She finds out that her dad went to go talk to some mystics in a desert. And I'm just going to save us all some time. That plot thread gets resolved in episode 7, and we're not fucking talking about it.
I don't give a shit.
Nope.
Don't give a shit. All right. Jumping into episode 5.
Yep. Episode 5.
I would argue up there with episode 1, one of the better episodes.
Yeah. It's got a little bit, it's still a little bit more on the practical effects side, especially since it, it looks like it took place in a real canyon basin thing. It had some first off, it had one of the funnier moments that were obviously necessary for the plot, which is Chief managing to get the last of his memories and finally figured out what it is Halsey did to his life. Discovering that dum, she abducted him from his happy little home and cloned him and left a deceased clone to, die with his family, basically kidnapping all of the Spartans. And he gets so mad because, conveniently, as he's figuring all this out, who should show up behind him but Halsey. So he charges at her, and mid-jump, Cortana shuts him off. And
why was he doing like a Superman punch? That was what I was trying to. Like, you could have just shot her. Like, why did you have to do the Superman punch?
Honestly, it was funny the whole way through because watching him just like power down midair, amazing. Like, that wins its own award. Yeah. So then with all that going on, the Covenant shows up to, fuck shit up and try to abscond with all of the artifacts. And there's a giant fight. Master Chief finally comes to. Kai finally has, morals and is horrified by what she's doing and then gets lit up.
Well, I think this whole episode. So after that happens with Chief, why wouldn't Halsey say something to someone and be like
about him? Because she's still under the impression that she needs him.
And then they see him walking towards the artifact again, and nobody thought to be like, "Hey, why is he walking towards that? Why is he walking into the cave? What's he doing in the cave?" You know what I mean?
Well, because if I remember right, so if I remember right, the order of events here, they tried to go free the artifact from its little crystal case with a drill. And then pretty much when that happened, a giant sound happened and like disabled everybody. Like,
right.
Almost bleeding out the ears. But then they abandoned that. It basically, they're all trying to figure out what to do about it. And then he kind of like pulls together some pieces of everything, gets really suspicious, and decides, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go get the last of my memories. And
I need to know.
There's a giant jolt that... Yeah. And that inevitably tells the Covenant where to go, because at this point, they were on Madrigal, rooting around in the cave, and then McKee's like, I know where it is.
And then we get one of the better action set pieces of the series, because then we finally get some Covenant Spartan fighting, and
more than that. So we get the Covenant, we get the grunts,
the brutes.
We get the jackals, we get the brutes, and we get Atriox.
Yeah.
We get a named character wielding one of my favorite weapons, which is the gravity hammer. And damned if that thing's not fun as hell to use.
What were we doing? Like, this is all you needed to do, was this. Because that, honestly, I'm sitting there, I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm enjoying it. I think it's like I said, when the show is moving and having action sequences, I'm enjoying myself. When they get bogged down in their stupid story.
So we get that. We get Chief, if I remember right. He tries to abduct a Spectre.
Before that, or maybe it was after that. So yeah, when they're first of all, they're riding on that warthog, him and Vanek.
Also, the warthog looks killer.
Every bit of their tech, again, they fucking nailed. All of their tech looks good. It looks believable.
Except for that one battle rifle.
Randomly was CG'd when he threw it on the ground in the first episode.
That was
weird.
So
weird.
I had to rewind and look at this. Did I see that right?
My favorite thing about that sequence, too, was it captured what it's like to play the games. Because they're just sprinting. They hop into a warthog, Sheaf does, and then the other Spartans are sprinting and catching up to him. And they do it a smart way of explaining in the lore why your Spartan could run down and run next to a warthog and jump into a warthog. Like
they're
it is a great way to illustrate how fast these fuckers run, where they could just jump into a car like it's nothing. And
yeah. They didn't miss a beat.
This episode did scale well, and it felt like this big battle, and it is great because it does perfectly what the games do, where the Marines just get fucked constantly.
Oh, so hard.
And that's the whole thing. Is like that's why we have the Spartans, because they're just here to. You are fodder for them, so they can. These Covenant are distracted while they're beating the shit out of these other guys. And
yeah.
Yeah, so she tries to get Miranda out of there, and so they attack her ship, and she's got to defend them. And then her emotions start to take over, and she's getting like shell shocked and like having a panic attack, being like, "Oh my god, I'm in a battlefield, I'm gonna die! Like these people, they're kicking me, punching me, shooting me, And then we see a moment where I think for me in this point. For Chief, he's kind of like a brooding teenager for a little bit, but as the episodes go on, you start to like him more. And I think this episode really turned me on this John, where he's like, "I'm not gonna let my friend die," which is an easy way to make him relatable and likable, and it's pretty effective here.
Yeah.
And I also think, narratively, I think this is also where Cortana starts to come around on Chief, too, because she's like, stay on mission, and he's like, I gotta save my friend. And when he steals that Spectre, holy shit, that was awesome.
Well, and then on top of that, you got Halsey on her ship, and we see an odd little bit of humanity out of her, because she decides to leave her ship to go save her daughter.
It's like
Miranda Keyes, FYI. She puts herself in the line of fire to go save her daughter, but on the same token, she wants Chief to not go save Kai and to recover the artifacts.
Yep.
Like that is the priority, and it's like, no, man, my fellow Spartan is getting kicked into the dirt. My friend that's
dying right in front of me.
The only person who could understand my emotions.
Oh, and him being a dick about it. It was really funny, too, because Cortana said what I thought in that scene. Because there's a scene earlier where he finds out she took her pellet out because she tells him, and he's like, well, then you're a liability. You can't be out there. And she's like, well, then if I'm a liability, why are you out there, being like, you're kind of a hypocrite. And she stood up for herself, and in my head, I'm like, good for you, Kai. And then Cortana says that. She's like, I'm glad she stuck up for herself. I'm like, yeah, you're right, Cortana. I agree.
But they didn't reaffirm the point why he can be out there, because he's the Master
Chief.
This is my story,
so he jumps on, shoots the dude, and commandeers the Spectre like you would in the game. But instead of flying it, he just paraglides it into the Covenant, which was so. I like how it was shot, because I like kind of like the over the shoulder look, because it really just shows how ridiculous. Like he's just like, I'm gonna save my friend. I'm gonna drive this giant ship into these people.
Yeah,
but it's all and the visual. I'm a sucker for shit like this. The visual of the smoke and then him just standing up and then proceeding to just make all these grunts eat shit. I was like, let's go. I'm in. I'm invested.
Yep.
When he flips the one
So
and shoots it in the head without looking, I'm like, all right, I'm into this.
you know what, guys? You started losing me in 2, 3, and 4, but I'm back, baby.
It
back.
only took me 3 hours to get to what I wanted, I guess, you know.
Well, hold on to your pants because you're going to lose it again here in another couple episodes. So, yeah, and then he crashes the ship. He's kind of beat to hell. Kai's basically dying. The artifacts are out there in the open.
Stomps a brute's skull into the ground. Or not a brute, but...
Well, not even stomps. Like, he mounts him and just starts beating the ever-living hell out of him.
Yeah.
And then stomps him out like he was fucking Wilson Fisk.
But John wasn't able to control his emotions because he was upset about his friend. And then he let them get the artifact. And then...
Well, I mean, he almost saved it, except, you know, the Covenant had a little drop ship to just like, boop, got it.
Again, shows you how fast this dude is and the fucking audacity where he's like, I'm going to beat this tractor beam.
Right? He starts shooting.
He's like, I'm going to fucking get it. And then, yeah. Also, for the most part, I didn't mind the cheesy like callbacks to the game.
No, that's why we're here.
When she's like, switch to primary, and he's like, I know how the game is played. I'm like, okay. All right. But when he says, Cortana, I need a weapon, it's a weird place to say it because I'm like, I don't know. Look down. There's plenty of weapons, Chief. Pick one up. Why are you telling the AI? I get it. We got to say the line because it's in the game, but it's like you could have used it at a different time.
Maybe a time when the battlefield wasn't covered in them.
He's like, Chief, look down. Oh, thanks.
But, okay, so silver lining, though, the Covenant managed to run off with the artifact, but they traded in their used human.
Yes, they brought down Maquis.
Yep, McKee was shot down in a pod, and, well, you know, nobody was buying her bullshit until they were, but they were suspicious of her from the get-go because when you think about it, why wouldn't the Covenant just kill a human?
Yeah, why wouldn't they? Why would they keep? I can see it.
Like, when you look at this face on, none of her lies make any sense.
Well, the thing is, the difference was Chief Tsar was like, I'm going to try and have sex with this woman, so we should keep her with us. And...
Oh, okay. Actually, I just remembered a funny little thought I had watching. It was like episode 2 where they first show us McKee's face, and then we had the flashback to when she was a kid. Now, bear with me here because again, suspension of disbelief. I understand, but McKee was a natural brunette, and you could see it in her hair.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the Covenant had blonde hair dye?
Yeah. They had to make her the perfect specimen. Make her blonde.
Well, okay, that's some subtext I'm not buying into.
Well, the Covenant are Nazis. You didn't know?
I'm just talking about the convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just walked down to the local bodega and picked up a box of L'Oreal.
You know what the craziest thing about this was? When I was looking up, when this was first coming out, I was looking up the cast and stuff. And this actress's name is Charlie Murphy. And I was like, Charlie Murphy? He's dead. Because I was thinking of Eddie's brother, and I'm like, what the hell is Charlie Murphy doing? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it's a weird name.
So yeah, that was...
Could you imagine if that was like Eddie Murphy's brother, though? What a different show.
Maybe it was. So that was episode 5.
So episode 6 is Solace. Do you have what happened in episode 6? Let's see.
You know, it's funny. I stopped taking notes.
After episode 5.
Does it get any better?
I'm gonna. You know what? We're gonna. Because I'm trying to remember the order of events. Because I know that episode 7 is the Quan episode, and I know that episode 8 and all that.
Yep. So let's just piece everything else in the middle here.
I'm gonna pull up the wiki and get a synopsis here.
Okay. So from what I recall, we go back to go back to Reach, and we start questioning McKee because obviously,
Right.
why wouldn't you?
Of course.
John is super distrustful of Cortana, even though Cortana is trying to, be chill.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, there's a good line at the beginning of this episode where Chief is like pissed because he lost the artifact. He's like, I lost the artifact, and then Jacob Keyes is like, yeah, but you saved 150 people are alive today because of you.
well,
So
that's
I was
like 1.5 Spartans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. 1.5 of my friends is alive, but and he's you also saved your friend. That's something
Sure,
to think
yeah.
about, John.
Oh, right. So the beginning of the episode, Kai is basically getting dosed up like hell with painkillers, and John's just kind of like trying to deal with the aftermath of everything in some sort of fugue, spaced out state, and hates Halsey because who doesn't? That happened.
So this is where we start to think that, and they also think the artifact, the other piece is on, is it Raska? How would they say it? It's the Covenant Holy Planet, pretty much, that they go to in the finale.
But they can't find it.
Yeah, and so that's what they think's happening, and then Halsey is put as the leader of the project because of John and Kai at their pellets.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we also find out about the origins of the Spartan 2 program, and the kids being. Also, that's even more fucked up to me that she made them like cancerous, like terminally ill. Like she is fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, they just
cold-hearted.
They live for like a week. They have seizures and a nosebleed and then die.
Yeah.
Which is like really good foreshadowing to later in the episode or the series. But
you know what else? I fucking forgot about that part at the end. Like was it episode 8 when that happens? Totally forgot about that.
Actually, I think it might have been 9.
Maybe. So yeah, this pretty much is they're getting ready to go try and find how to get to this Covenant planet. Hopefully McKee can help them.
Well, she basically like falls for John's guiles like almost immediately, which is really funny.
Oh yeah,
because, because when the series started, one of the Covenant priests, Mercy, had warned her about falling for the demon, and she had promised to bring them his head. I would say she took his head, but didn't bring it back.
Oh yeah, buddy. We also find out in this episode where one of them is having a vision, the other one like goes into like a seizure or like a
they're
catatonic state.
Yeah, so basically their biorhythms and their brains basically link up.
Yeah. So episode 7 is Inheritance. That's Quan episode. I don't care.
Nobody cares.
Episode 8 is Allegiance. So that is where John and McKee fuck.
Yes, that if you look it up on the wiki, that's basically the synopsis.
I'm reading it right now. John and McKee have sex.
Verbatim. So all of Halsey's.
Can we also say how unsexy and awkward that fucking sex scene is? And
I can tell you that I skipped it.
I skipped through it too when I watched it the second time. I'm like, I don't want to put myself through this.
I went cinema sins on this one. I was like, skip.
I don't know about you, but I'm someone who like I don't mind nudity and sex in movies, but it has to like serve a purpose and it make serve a purpose of the story. This doesn't, because it's just like I understand what they're trying to say. Like these two, they get each other on a certain level, but like, why would she fall in love with him? Because is he like the first nice human being to her? Like,
because he's the protagonist.
Yeah, because he's the blessed one. They're the blessed ones. 2 in a billion.
Bear in mind, they haven't even known each other like 2 days.
So yeah, we also find out that the Covenant are going after the Halo rings to begin the Great Journey, which is something that is touched on in Halo 2 with the Arbiter.
So then we also have that. All of Halsey's bullshit comes to a head. She actually, what I thought was one of the more fucked up moments was she, had her daughter in to talk to her, and while she's talking, managed to get a scan of her retina so that she could hack their systems.
Right, and Miranda in that scene was like, "Can you just fucking be normal?"
Short answer, no.
Can you stop being a fucking sociopath? Like, she's pleading to her mom, like, I just want a relationship with you. I just want a mom. And she's like, yeah, I agree. I love you too. Let me get your retinas.
Give me one good look.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold it right there. Okay, yeah, keep going. What were you saying?
So all of this comes to a head. And Halsey is told that basically they're kicking her ass off planet. They're going to go send her to a moon somewhere to do her research. She's not going to have the artifacts. Basically, lol, we're going to kick you out.
Yeah, all right. You've caused too much damage with your crazy shit. Get out of here.
So she has her little temper tantrum and decides, you know what? Now's the time. We're going to take the artifact. We're going to take McKee.
Normal people, when they're demoted or, something changes at work that they don't like, normally they do something petty like steal some pens or something.
Well, she decides to take everything.
She takes everything and then 6'2" Spartans on Master Chief.
Well, he didn't comply. If he'd have complied, everything would have been hunky-dory.
Yeah. So she tells Riz and Vanek being like, any means necessary, get me Master Chief, pretty much.
Yep. And, well, before that, she tried to talk to McKee through her room's hollow somethings.
Oh, yeah, and she tries to manipulate her and be like, yeah, you are special. There's something with you, too,
And you can't trust the UNSC.
He listens
you
to
can trust
you.
Me.
He doesn't listen to me. John will listen to you.
You can trust me.
Yeah. Not the UNSC, just me.
Yeah, don't ask John why he can't trust me. Just trust me. Yeah.
I will say
he won't listen to me, but he'll listen to you. Why doesn't he listen to you?
Well, I didn't fuck him, so
like some weak ass God. So yeah, and everything just goes fucking haywire. McKee. So this whole time, Miranda's been trying to decode this message that McKee sent when she fucked up that UNSC ship.
Yeah.
So she's been trying to decode this message, and finally it comes through, and she's like, "Oh my God, McKee's the one. She murdered everybody on the ship." And then obviously you're gonna tell everybody that when they're all standing in one room. And what do? They use a fucking stun gun on her, just like when she was a kid, and that triggers all the feels bad.
Now you're gonna pay.
Yeah, everyone's gonna pay now, and I'm gonna touch the object and
what did you
make
think
the
was
building
gonna
explode.
Happen? What did you think was gonna happen? They were gonna figure it out.
You murdered an entire ship of people.
You wouldn't think they wouldn't know?
You think they're gonna be like, nah, it's okay, dog?
You're not gonna notice a ship missing? They're not gonna be like, hey, where's that ship we had out there?
Oh no, they found the ship. The people were all dead. Like, she got on the ship, murdered everybody, and then left.
That's what I mean. Like, they were gonna like, yeah, I know.
But it's like,
and you don't think that they wouldn't have like some sort of my thought would be like, wouldn't they have like a surveillance camera of some kind?
No. Best case scenario, they figure it out, and when they're talking about it, like, nah, fuck those guys. We hated them anyways.
Yeah, fuck them.
We're glad they're dead.
Played it cool. I want to give credit to Natasha McElhone. That's who plays Halsey. She's great in this show. I fucking hate Halsey.
Yeah, I believe she's a fucking sociopath.
Really good villain.
Sold it.
So episode 8, yeah, that was I liked that fight with an armorless John against Riz and Vanek. That was fun.
Honestly, that's not even my favorite fight of the scene. My favorite fight of the episode is insanely short, but it's when Kai is on Halsey's ship and Aiden fucking smacks her in the back of the head with that rail.
No, dude, that's the next. Pretty sure, is it this episode?
No, I think it's this one, because in the next one they end up going and doing the
maybe.
I don't know. 8 and 9. We said this.
8 and 9 blur together. Yeah.
Well, it's not even that they blur together. They cut it in such an awkward fucking place.
Because 8 ends with Kai saving Master Chief, but Riz still has a drop on him, has a gun pointed on him, and Vanek is telling her to shoot, and then Maquis touches the artifact, and John sees her, and she's like, I'm leaving, and then that's the episode.
And she's like, deuces, bitch.
And again, because I have the ad Paramount. I don't have the higher tier because I'm not bougie. But it always has there's always an ad at the end before the credits. So there was an ad there, but I'm like, that surely can't be the end of the episode. I remember seeing that the first time. I'm like, oh, nope, it is. And then watching it a second time this morning, I was like, that is kind of a weird end. Yeah. And then, because 9 picks up exactly where it left off, and it's almost like you could have
made it a super episode.
Or added that extra 10 minutes of episode 9, put that on episode 8, and then add something else at the end of 9. I don't know. But
I will say, in all of this, and especially with the beginning of episode 9, I've got a fond appreciation for Kai.
I really like Kai a lot in this show. I think they did a really good job developing her.
I mean, she got fucking chumped out by Riz and Vanek, and then fucking chained to a bathroom sink. Not even that. It was like a bench.
Yeah, gets out of that.
No, fuck, she not even just gets out of that. She starts just kicking it while she's lying on her back.
Yeah.
And breaks out of that, and then manages to go break up the violence between Chief and the other two just long enough.
So remember in episode 5 what I was talking about, what's great about that is watching them run down a warthog. Now granted, the CG looked kind of wonky at some points, but I love the idea that these fucking Spartans are so fast and cocky. She's like, I'm going to run and jump and take down this thing before it even gets that far into the air. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you watch Kai just fucking run this thing down, it was so funny to me. The CG was kind of meh, but I guess it's hard to animate someone running. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I loved it. It's actually great. She catches up, she jumps onto it,
shoots it in the fucking motor, and then hops into it. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far into that one, because I do want to spend a minute on this,
because that was great
scene.
That whole flight sequence was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, that was one of the standout moments. So she gets chained up by Riz and Vanek and manages to break up the fighting just long enough. And of course, this was before Chief started trusting Cortana again, because she decided to defect.
She was
from
supposed
Halsey's
to get
side.
John's body out of this. Because Halsey was like, "We get John, and then you can have his body."
Yeah, and Cortana.
And that's where she says, "I believe in humanity."
Yeah, she's like, "Nah, dog, I'm gonna betray you."
Hey, John, I kind of like you. Don't do this.
Yep. So yeah, all of that happened. So their bond is better. Yeah, better. And he fights. And then we flash forward to Kai running down Halsey's ship. God damn it, Halsey's ship fucking cracks me up. In all of this, she manages to get her ship outside, have her creepy little assistant Aiden start loading things up. They get the motors running, and they have enough time to just sit there and enact their evil plan before the Marines catch on and start encircling it, but not do anything. They just stand outside menacingly. Just, turn it off.
Hey, knock it off. We have guns and we can make you, but hey, knock it off.
So all of this goes down, and it impresses me that she managed to get this far. So then Kai runs the ship down, jumps on top, shoots the motor out. It's crashing. She jumps inside to, confront them. And while she's talking to Halsey, little dipshit Aiden decides to run up behind and smack her in the back of the head with a pole. Except she's a fucking Spartan, so what do you think happens?
And you know what they do. You work with the lady that helped create them, right? What do you think was going to happen?
You didn't even knock her out. She turned around and looked at you and you went, oh no.
Dude, I forgot how sudden and violent that is, and it's hilarious.
Oh no, that's by far my favorite scene because
she just fucking shoots that guy straight up into the ceiling and kills him.
Yeah, just fucking grabs him, throws him up into the ceiling lights, and he falls back down to the table, and that's it. He got fucking pumped.
I hope. No, I'll save it. I'll save it for what we are hoping for season 2.
Like he got punked so goddamn hard.
Oh, so. Hey, look, man. I'll say this right now. If episode 1, episode 5, episode 6, episode 8, and episode 9 was that 5 episodes?
Yeah.
And then maybe one more. I think the show could have worked to 6 episodes.
Okay, one more.
Because these last 2 episodes I liked a lot.
One more episode, but not episode 7.
But not a Quan episode. But like honestly, dude, these last 2 episodes, I enjoyed them a lot. I enjoyed them a lot the first time. I enjoyed them a lot this time. I still have some questions, especially with the finale, because we finally figure out where the Covenant Holy Planet is, and Chief is going after him.
Well, it was right where McKee said it was. It's just everybody's too fucking dumb to figure it out.
So she went back there too, because she's going to go on the great journey.
Yep. She thinks she's going on the great journey.
But they were like, you said you'd bring the head of a demon, and you didn't.
Well, they were going to kill her anyways, because that was a promise they made off screen.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we were going to kill the bitch. Why would we let a human do this?
Yeah, we still hate humans, man. We're still the Covenant. Come on.
Yeah, we're using you, obviously.
What'd you think was going to happen?
So
you know what so much of the show is? What did you think was going to happen?
Right. So they managed to locate the rough coordinates of the Holy Planet for the Covenant. And in order to do it, they basically have to travel... I don't even know. Something string theory. Basically, it's like driving through a black hole.
Yeah, they had to do something through like slip space or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a degree, and I think it's all bullshit anyways. But sure.
I mean, it's fucking TV physics.
Yeah. So again, suspension of disbelief here. I sold out a long time ago. Don't worry about that. But so they just narrowly managed to make through it without the ship falling to pieces, because Chief's the fucking boss. He piloted through this shit, and he somehow subconsciously knew right about where to be. Okay, fine.
He had the vision,
man. Yep. Yeah, this is why he went to flight school, I guess. So we get to the Holy Planet, and everyone gets geared up, and they jump down, and shocking to nobody, there's no welcoming party. Everyone's, busy doing Covenant holy shit, I guess, because there's a whole thing going on here. So they all go get in a position after murdering a couple grunts.
As you do.
Yep.
They kicked that dude's mask off. It was, I don't know, it was kind of brutal. I was like, damn. Like stomped his face pretty much. I'm like, geez.
And then somewhere.
Oh, can we say? I meant to say this in previous episodes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we established a few episodes ago that they figured out it was Halsey's voice. That was the voice they were trying to decode. I wanted to mention this because
McKee's voice.
Or McKee's voice, yes. And I wanted to bring this up too. Again, the more time I spent with Silver Team, the more I enjoyed the show. So to see this episode where they're finally all back together again, because this is the first time since the first episode where they're all fighting together, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, like they had moments where they were endearing, like when they were talking about their pets while they were, in training.
Yeah, when they're giving pets and shit.
I mean, that was fucking heartbreaking, but okay.
Halsey, man.
Halsey.
Well, or the best part is the joke when they're getting into the ship, getting ready to go to the Holy Planet, where Kai was like, wow, would you guys really have shot me? And Vanek and Riz simultaneously like, oh yeah, we would have.
Well, but then they asked Kai if she would have.
She's like, yeah, but I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
I was like, see, what the fuck? Why wasn't this in more of the show? This is what we wanted.
Because Quan Ha.
And fucking, we gotta pad this out. We gotta make it 9 episodes because that's what. Whatever. This show cost $100 million.
Oh, but I believe they all spent it up on the front end because this last episode, whoo, buddy, they must have gone down like an income bracket to afford this one.
So yeah, it's just an extended fight scene on the Holy Planet, which again works really well.
Sure.
I loved it.
They would have stealthed in really good, except McKee touched the artifacts while Chief was in plain view.
Yeah.
And, well, that's...
The scene when he is fighting the brutes, and like when one brute comes down and he blocks it with his gun, but while he's blocking it, shoots the other one in the face, and then like flips it up, and like just things like that where it's again Master Chief looking like Master Chief. It just baffles me. It's like what, like this is the best stuff of the show. You should have used this more.
Oh, there's so much of this should have done more.
And like I keep going back to it. When the action is happening, it is good. It is fun. And like even the extended first person shot in this, I dug. I thought that was fun.
It's for me, it's not a matter of not liking it. It's just the graphic quality dropped off really hard. It was at the point where it was eerily reminiscent of one of the fight scenes in Blade 2. And if you know what scene I'm talking about in front of the lights, yeah, no, it was rough.
I love that movie, but there are definitely some shots from like, oof, this is made 20 years ago.
Yeah, this felt like it. But so, you know, giant all-out brawl. You get the brutes and the grunts. And then I don't remember exactly why, but for some reason there's this giant breeze that knocks like half of the invading army off.
That was when she touched the marker.
Okay, was that?
Yeah. So she does that. She has a vision, and then Chief like goes into a catatonic state where he like just crouches. He kneels down in front of the artifact, and he's in the little plane of existence that they're in. So he's not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Riz is fucked up. Kai's getting beat down. Vanek's down. They need Chief to come back, and eventually Chief just says, "All right, I'm gonna give He finally comes back, and then he's like, Cortana, take over. You get to." She's like, "You could die. You could lose yourself." And he's like, "Take over."
So I think you might have understated because you said Riz is fucked up. No, Riz is beyond fucked up.
She's got a chunk missing.
Like she got her fucking like shoulder taken off by a fucking sticky grenade.
When the brute is just like cat and mouse, just like swatting at fucking Chief, and then is pushing the hammer down and cracking his visor. I was like, again, effective, works. I'm digging it. And then, but this is where I'm confused. So Cortana takes over. And it's like almost like traditional video game Chief. Doesn't really say anything. Does some cool shit. Kills a bunch of Covenant.
Fucks shit up.
Gets on the ship and saves Riz, which is like ripping off the armor. Just like, here's a torch. Got to cauterize it. Doesn't even say that. Just like immediately just cauterizes the wound.
Not even a torch. He pulled he pulled a gas line out of the ship and just ignited it.
Yep. Here, I gotta... And then Chief walks away, and Vanek just kind of holds the torch like, well, I guess I should probably keep doing this, but I'm a little, like, baffled right now. But all right.
Well, I mean, I think she understands the weight of what happened there, because Chief isn't Chief, and I have so many follow-up questions with what we've seen for Season 2.
Yeah, how the fuck is he Chief again? That's what I'm trying to figure out, too, is Season 2. Like, how are they gonna make it different? Like, how is Cortana gonna get maybe they'll resolve it in episode 1. I don't know.
I should hope so. If they just hand wave it, I'm gonna be kind of confused.
Yeah, because like the whole point of that ending was like because Kai comes and sits down next to Chief while they're going back, and she's like, "Are you John? Are you there? Are you still John?" No, and it just looks at her and looks forward. Like there's nothing to it, and I guess I don't know.
I guess the ultimate confusing part about it is that in order for Cortana to take control, it's not even a conscious thing because he basically just died. And then she jump-started his brain and took control. Because I remember like his vital signs stopped, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he died.
Yeah.
And then came back.
With her under control.
Yeah, she came back.
Yeah. And she had an interesting little bookend that they decided to do was that her first line in the series was her first line controlling Chief, which was basically something to the effect of when the game is over, the king and the pawn go in the same box.
Yeah, that's what she says, the first thing you see of her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
And it's the first thing she says when she takes control of Chief. So just like this weird little bookend.
I don't know. I don't know. So that's season 1.
Yeah, it was a thing.
I think I'm a little bit kinder. Maybe I'm about the same. Maybe a little bit kinder.
Like
on my second viewing.
I mean, for point of comparison, I had to drag you kicking and screaming to watch it
because I coped. Wasn't what I wanted. And then it had episode 5, and I'm like, oh, all right, episode 6, okay.
Yeah, there are some.
If they would have just focused on Chief and Silver Team and the artifact, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah, like there were definitely this first season was a season of extremes. There are high points and there are low points.
But if you're listening this long, I appreciate you, and you'll understand where I'm coming from. Of like, the highs get really high. There's some really cool shit and some things I really like, but it is buried under so much crap.
Named Quan Ha.
That and Venture and
well, all of it circles Quan Ha. It is in her
anything
orbit.
In the web of that story, yeah.
Except for Soren, who might be like a
and
lone...
I cannot, and the fact that Pablo said publicly he didn't want to do the sex scene, and he didn't like it, and didn't think it was a good idea, and they ignored it, and they did it anyway, and...
Well, that's the difference between him and John Krasinski. I mean, Krasinski, when he learned that Jim was supposed to cheat on Pam in the office, he put his foot down, and they said, all right, we'll change it.
I think maybe he didn't think he had that pull on the first season. And honestly, I think that would be it. Maybe he's like, oh, fuck it. I didn't write the script. I got to do my job, I guess.
Yeah, no. So
I got to make out with this attractive woman. Darn.
So he voiced his disappointment in the choice, but he did it under his breath.
Yeah. He's like, I need this fucking job, so I'm not going to say anything.
Guys, this is a really bad idea.
But again, I have to kiss Charlie Murphy. I'm going to be real upset about it.
Oh, man. And I'm also getting paid millions of dollars. Why me?
Yeah. All right. So I guess, are we going to have a ranking system? Or are we going to have a rating system for this?
As a whole, independently, because I can tell you 7 is a flat F. If I could give it anything lower than an F, I would give it that.
I mean, as a whole, season 1, I would give a D. Maybe a C minus.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat. Like, there are decent highs. The lows are catastrophic. I think it's a first season, so the learning curve is there. I would definitely lean towards C minus D plus.
It says a lot though, where half the season I really like, and another half I'm kind of like, eh.
Like it's not without charm. It's just the charm is buried under the weight of terrible dialogue exposition.
And I think that with you and I, again, not having a ton of like playing the games, enjoying the games, but not having a huge attachment to the lore, I think we had a little bit more leeway with the show and what we'd be okay with, what we'd be against with it.
Well, and our names aren't Joe.
Exactly. And even I was like, really? This doesn't feel like Halo. Even I was at points in this show being like, this just feels like a different sci-fi show that they just slapped Halo on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, not knowing much about the lore, I could kind of take everything as it was and try to judge it on its own merits. I understand that it is in a Halo universe, but the writing is just not good.
It's not.
It's cringy at best.
It feels like a sci-fi, like SYFY sci-fi show.
And it borders on feeling like a porn parody.
But I think they got the aesthetic right. I think they got a lot of practical looking things of that world and showing that like it looks good in a live action space. I am optimistic for season 2. It's a new creative team. Looks like they're going to do the Fall of Reach. That seems to be where they're going with this story in season 2.
it definitely feels like they were building towards that at one moment in the show, because there was another planet or city that had gotten devastated by the Covenant. So you could kind of feel that this was just around the corner.
Yeah, and I understand that it's not following the games and everything with that, but yeah, it's kind of interesting how they're doing it in this timeline, because the Fall of Reach is before the first Halo.
Mm-hmm.
I also found out, I want to make a correction. I was like, I don't think Master Chief was in the Fall of Reach because of Halo Reach. I found out that the Fall of Reach is a book, and Halo Reach kind of ignores the canon of that book.
Even they don't know their own canon.
Yeah. Those were the Bungie days. Who knows?
Well, I think that, like I said, I think it's just open enough. They've explained that this is a different, not even a different timeline, but a different world, a different reality of in that universe. So I'm not going to take everything needing to be a particular way. I mean, obviously, we've watched enough Marvel movies to know in our time that shit gets changed. I'm not going to get Days of Future Past exactly as written. That's just the way it is.
I loved Captain America Civil War, but that was nothing like the comic.
That was definitely not Civil War, for better or worse.
And then, like I said, I like that with adaptations, because if I want what was in those original stories, then I will read the medium, or read the book, play the game, whatever it is. So I'm not against adaptation. I'm not against that.
One, I don't think that a dot-for-dot adaptation of the Halo games would be very compelling to watch.
Yeah. And I think it'd be the same. It's hard to do a long-form show based on these games, I feel like. As vast as the lore is, you have to really have some really compelling characters, and I think that's what stood out in Season 1. When the story isn't as compelling, Halo just feels like another sci-fi thing. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's an argument to be made that like this could have just as easily been something like Mass Effect.
Dude, it could have been Battlestar Galactica or whatever. It felt like at times a generic sci-fi show.
Yeah, and you know what? It's probably a good place to start from. It's just we need to actually get invested in the world, and I feel like the world itself wasn't very well shaded in.
I think that there's going to be a lot more focus in this season, and I think it's going to be mostly about the Fall of Reach, and at least the first half of the season will be about that, and then the second half is going to be the aftermath, and
I think
maybe leading towards Halo 1 story-wise. I don't know.
I think for anyone who is at least has a passing familiarity with pro football, I think, in my opinion, Season 2 is going to be a prove-it season. Okay, we gave you a second season.
It's your contract year.
Yeah. If you want a third, you need to deliver.
Are you going to say that this show might only be one season, this miniseries?
Huh?
You know what? I get it. Look, I get it. You only have so much time in your life, and there's plenty of great shows out there, and I agree with you, Sparks. You get 2 seasons to prove yourself.
Yeah, I mean, some shows don't even get that. Some shows only get the one.
This show, I think after the premiere, immediately got a Season 2, which I think is the only reason why I got a Season 2, because I don't know a ton of people that even watched the first season.
Like, could you imagine if this was on Netflix?
Yeah, it would have been already. Yeah,
or hell, if this had been Warner, they'd have just pulled it halfway through production.
Tax write-off, baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the very least, we're getting a second season. This is not a redemption arc, but it's a redemption for the crew and the writers
and
to try
honestly,
to deliver.
I like Pablo Schreiber a lot, and I want to see him have a win here. So,
yeah, there are characters worth talking about. There is one not worth talking about. And I think ultimately we're just going to have to see where everything goes. The first,
as far as I know, I don't think she's really in it at all.
We didn't think she was in it in the first place. And that's the rude awakening.
I like
we
my
got.
chits.
I
don't know. I am optimistic. I'm going in with an open mind, but you're right. If this season isn't an improvement on Season 1, then I don't know if I would stick around for Season 3. And by the way, it's not that high of a bar to clear.
I mean, no, that's the advantage of, creating a C plus D minus show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the indications that we've gotten from the first trailer and a half, things are looking promising, and it'll be out soon. And we'll have a double episode to kick us off.
Yeah. So next week, first 2 episodes are dropping on Thursday on Paramount Plus. So we're gonna try and record Friday night and get it up Saturday if we can. But 2 episodes, double dipping in our first season 2 episode.
And with any hope, we'll be talking about some positives and hopefully less negatives.
I'm honestly, maybe it's because we decided to do this show, but I'm excited. I'm actually excited to see season 2. So
I'm anxious.
Anxious? Yeah, we'll see.
Cautiously optimistic.
I think I'm more optimistic than you are, just slightly. You're cautiously optimistic, and I'm optimistic.
Yeah, like I've been burned enough times by garbage shows. I mean, I watched the entire run of Titans.
I did not get past 1 episode. I watched 1 episode. Stay tuned to our next side miniseries, Titans.
I'm not reliving that.
Getting Titans.
Getting Toitons.
Remembering the...
No, it's me forgetting the Titans.
Yeah. Well, this has been our first episode of Halo PODST, breaking down the Paramount Plus Halo show. So, what did you think of season 1? I doubt you liked it. I doubt it. I'm talking to you, listener.
Yeah, no. Hopefully you didn't absolutely hate it and had a reason to listen to us talk about it.
So yeah, look for episode 2 where we officially start covering season 2 of Halo. Like I said, that might be up late Friday, early Saturday.
And if nothing else, you got to hear Jake talk about Master Chief's ass.
Oh yeah, Master Chief's ass.
It's like Captain America's, but not as good.
At the end of the game, what was it? The king and the...
At the end of the game, the king and the pawn go back into the same box.
Yeah, that's going to end every episode. I'm just going to clip that out.
Well, you might want to put it at the beginning and at the end.
All right.
Because that's the way it goes.
Folks. We're done here.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.